This is a story about one of the first projects I made when I got the Adams shortcut lathe. So this is an old lathe from the 1920s, and I went through a whole process of getting into the workshop and set up and wired. The problem is, pretty much everywhere there's a bearing surface, it's worn. So the spindle bearings are worn, the ways are worn, a significantly visible amount. I just sort of wanted to come up with a project to test out how bad it was and what was possible, even though it was worn out. The first project that I was going to attempt to do is to make the surface and hole geometry required to mount a stepper motor to a surface. So I took the piece of 1/2 inch stock, stuck it in the forejaw, spot drilled the center, and then worked with progressively larger drills to get a hole started that I could use for boring. The first boring operation I did was I took a brazed carbide cutter and ground off enough of it that it would fit into the 3/4 inch hole, and then worked on starting to bore out the inside pattern. So I just did shallow passes at first and then deepened them until I got the desired size that I was looking for. So I kept cutting with the carbide cutter until I got to size. And it ended up not being too bad. And in the process, I figured out how the dials worked on the lathe. And how much to turn them to get the cutter to cut in that amount, how much spring was involved, how much everything flexed, what amounts of cut would cause vibration, which was basically everything. So anyway, I got that first relief made and then chamfered the edge and then did a light surface pass on the rest of the front edge. So that was it for the lathe portion. Then I went over to the mill and drilled and tapped the holes for mounting the stepper motor. So then it came time to test it out. So it did fit tight enough. I mean, this was great. It fit almost like it was a taper that I had to, squish together to get it centered, which was exactly what I was after. So that was my first attempt at using the Adams shortcut lathe. I learned a lot, and I did find out that because the lathe is very worn out, it's not really capable of making good surface finishes, but as far as I could tell, it was good enough to use it for other projects. And so I did. I went on and made a bunch of other stuff after this.